Hello everyone and welcome back. Do you remember the situation about the gas drillings in the Netherlands? These drillings caused small earthquakes in the province of Groningen in the north of the country. However, these drillings are also needed to supply the Dutch citizens with energy. We have translated this need for energy into a problem statement. How can we provide the Dutch citizens with energy and heating without endangering their safety? There is a specific overall goal that the ministry wants to achieve that is related to the presented problem statement. Think for instance about the goal sustainable energy supply, which contains both the elements of a continuation of energy supply and the safety of it. But this is quite a broad concept. What does the minister exactly mean? Probably you might be able to think of some general idea that is behind this concept, but when you further specify a goal like this, people tend to disagree with each other. Therefore, it's very practical to specify criteria in an early stage that represent the general overall goal of each actor. This is what we will do in this video. This is the Minister of Economic Affairs. Today we are going to ask him some important questions. The answer of the Minister to these questions will be used to establish criteria for the overall goal of the Minister. Hello Minister. What is it that you want to achieve during your period as Minister of Economic Affairs? Well, that's a good question. I think it is important to reduce CO2 emissions when, for example, generating electricity. At this point, we are not sure that this is the main goal of the Minister. For this reason, we ask him the question, why? Why do you want to reduce CO2 emissions when generating electricity? In this way, the Dutch state contributes to creating environmentally friendly energy. You can identify goals on a higher level by asking the why question. In this case, reducing CO2 emissions is not a goal in itself. The minister wants to reduce these emissions to supply the Dutch citizens with environmentally friendly electricity. When the minister will not be able to further answer the why question, this might be an indication that you have found the main goal of this actor that suits his problem statement. Let's give this a try. But Minister, why is creating environmentally friendly energy so important? In that way, the Dutch citizens can make use of a sustainable energy supply. Within the boundaries of the described problem and problem state, one could say that this is the main goal. You may have noticed, however, that the goal tree is not yet complete. Probably you could think of more sub-goals that represent sustainable energy supply. We have used the why question to work the goal tree from the bottom layer to the top. With asking the what is this question, we will be able to further complete the goal tree, working from the top to the bottom. For example, we can ask the question here, what is sustainable energy supply? A possible answer could be widely available and cheap energy. These sub-goals could also be further specified. The bottom layer of the goal tree can be used in a later stadium to function as criteria to measure the effects of an alternative. To be able to measure them, you have to add a unit to all goals in the lowest layer of the goal tree. Now that you have seen how to construct a goal tree, you may have noticed that this one is just for the Minister of Economic Affairs. There are, however, more actors in the problem field that are worth making a goal tree for. Goal trees of all actors show what things are important and how each actor perceives the problem more in detail. We spoke to Aad Corrier, a well-known person in the energy field, and asked him about the use of identifying goals and criteria.
A good example of a project in which the initial goals were not formulated as they were meant to be is the development of shale gas production in North Brabant, a province in the south of the Netherlands. There the idea was to drill and to start exploration of the underground to see whether there was shale gas available, what quality it was, what the circumstances in the underground were, whether it could be produced or not. By failing to present this project as a project which indeed was meant for investigation, for exploration and not for production as such, the impression was made upon the inhabitants, upon the municipality, and upon the company as well, and other actors involved, that they would be in a situation like we know from the United States, in which there is a range of drilling facilities. Time and again, new holes are drilled, and this is a continuing process. Yet, of course, when you start exploring, it's a one-time situation in which the underground is searched and then it's finished, and then the evaluation, appreciation of the underground starts, without any long-term consequences at all. So we're not picking and not establishing the right objectives and not communicating that to the inhabitants, to the municipality, in the right way. This raised a lot of public discontent, this raised a lot of problems. The municipality got also involved in the provision of the permits, and therewith the whole process in the end came under the embargo that we know right now. So now everyone is worse off because there is no information made available at all. And if the objective had been provision of inside knowledge instead of just production, then the process most likely would have taken another turn.
So would it have helped in such a situation to design a goal tree?
I think the goal tree in this respect would have been quite effective in order to establish what the actual meaning were, what the consequences of the project would have been, what the time would have been over which it would have lasted, and that would provided much more clarity than has been presented right now by this mix of different and, well, inadequate objectives, so to say.
And let's give you another example. Maybe you recognize it yourself. A high school student just finished high school. There are so many possibilities. What's the next step? We are going to construct criteria with a goal tree that will help determine the next step that the high school student should take. The first question is, what does this high school student want? The first thing that pops into the mind of the student is good courses. The next question then is, why does the student want that? The answer could be, for the purpose of high quality education. Again, this goal tree is not finished. To complete it, the next question is, what is that exactly, high quality education? The student's answer is that a well-spread study effort is part of it. Repeating the what is this question results in the lower layer of the goal tree with criteria that can be used to score different alternatives.
Now let's turn to your own case. Please study section 2.3 of the textbook first. And after that, create goal trees for a few of your public actors. Make sure all the lowest level goals in the tree are operational goals. That is, that they are measurable, have a unit and a target value assigned. Design your goal trees in such a way that all the operational goals can easily be transformed into factor criteria for your causal diagram. Also, create some goal trees for a few of your private actors. And given these goal trees, identify a set of criteria for further use in your analysis. Remember to check the following. Does this set of criteria represent your problem well? What criteria are relevant for your problem situation? To make it easier to communicate, list the criteria together with their units in a table. Now let's move on to the traps. Let's discuss some important traps that you might encounter when constructing a goal tree. The main goals in a goal tree often become too broad. This is the case if the goal is always true. Always, even when there's not a problem. Such an always true goal is what the particular actor is striving for in any situation, also if there's no problem at all. Ask yourself what the main goals in your goals tree mean. Main goals can also be too specific. In that case, you have focused so much in a certain direction of the problem that there is hardly any solution space left. Very often, this leads too quickly to alternatives. However, only a very limited set of alternatives, instead of a huge variety that your client can choose from. When constructing a goal tree from more abstract goals to more specific ones, the question to answer is, what is this? Many people, however, do not ask this question, but they ask, how can this be reached? Or simply, the how question. In doing this, the answer will always define a causal relation between the upper, more abstract goal and the lower sub-goal. The idea is that a goal tree defines upper abstract goals in concrete lower sub-goals. It is not the idea that a goal tree tells how these abstract goals can be reached. In that case, you would introduce alternatives in your goal tree. This is very dangerous, as the goal tree is constructed to get criteria. These criteria are used in your analysis to compare alternatives. So, if you would include an alternative in a goal tree, you would bias your analysis, because this alternative will always score on its own criterion.